Alrighty, welcome back guys, Captain Cuba here. Let me fix this little thing here. Yeah, there we go. Captain Cuba here, and welcome back to, I believe this is the third members hangout. This is one of the most recent things I've done in the channel, which is I'm finding really fun, because I get to just hang out with people and just do things I like, which is just watch God of War documentaries and video games. I was actually thinking of what am I doing here? It's just reflex. I was actually thinking of doing a GDC, of watching a GDC talk regarding Horizon. Which one was it? Horizon GDC talk. So yeah, I think it was one of this one, like the creation of Horizon. But then I saw that Santa Monica had done one for why am I okay? Santa Monica had done one for God of War 3, explaining how they did the Titans levels of God of War 3. And I was mind blown by that because I've always wanted to know. I know this was they've always been a huge deal. Haha, no pun intended. They've always been a big deal, and I never really know how they did them. I get the sense that they actually did the full levels. I think I heard someone say that while the game was still in development and they hadn't released it yet. I think they said that they actually made the full level and then just populated it with enemies and all that, as opposed to the PlayStation 2 era where it created the illusion that it was a full level, but it really wasn't, and this changed how movement actually worked. But anyways, it is here. I didn't know that they had done a GDC talk on this, and I'm gonna wait for a few more people because I don't know. I get the sense that YouTube is not notifying you guys, so I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes, wait for YouTube to get their shit together, and then we'll start this thing off. Let me open up the chat. Hey Goldening, what's up, man? How you doing? I kind of want to watch it full screen, but I also want to have the chat next to me, kind of how I did with Bit of War. So I'm just gonna watch it full screen. I'm gonna look at the chat here. Hey Cuba, got you on the TV wave. Awesome, man. Awesome. Got the notification. I'm doing well. I'm doing good, man. Just doing good. I was working on a video today, but I had to go to Walgreens and get a few things for Kanaruhi. I forgot to take these things off. My booty too big. Ow, fuck. I don't fit in her chair. Gotta get rid of all the padding. Oh, look at that. All is good in life now. Ah, she hates it when I do that. Kanaruhi, she can't stand it. Walgreens for anything else? Yeah, I mean, I had to go and get what was it? Paper towels for the kitchen because we're out. It was hot as hell, man. Even though it's kind of rainy here in Nashville. But yep. Hey, Monar, how you doing, man? Stewie, what's up, man? Cuba's resting on his dump truck. The thing is, Kanori is a skinny girl, and she's beautiful, and shush. But she's got like padding on her chair, and that's okay for her because she fits in it. Like my big caboose just doesn't fit on it. Like I gotta get rid of all the padding in order for me to sit properly. Otherwise, I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat, and she doesn't understand it. I'm like, I keep explaining it to you. I don't fit in your chair. What the hell is this fuss about a God of War leak? Didn't Sony use a fan-made logo? Yeah, I don't know what people are on about, man. Like, is it the logo thing? God of War leak? We can look that up real quick. I still Google. Why is this uneven? Give me a sec. Oh, that's why. Okay. God of War leak. One day ago. It's the title. It's the title thing, right? So Sony response after God of War Ragnarok title logo seemingly leaked. Again, someone at Sony accidentally used a fan-made logo which said God of War Ragnarok, and Sony came out saying that, hey, this is not the official title yet. We're still working on that or something. So yeah, that's not the title, guys. Oh, Simpri, what are you talking about? But yeah, there's no God of War leak that I'm aware of. Release date leak, is that it? Watch me give Kanoria a virus. I don't even know when this. Oh, 7 months ago. Screw this. I don't understand why people make a big deal. Sony doesn't even call the game Ragnarok, and people think it's called Ragnarok, even though they used the fan-made logo. Yeah, I mean, like, I call it Ragnarok in my videos because of the algorithm. Like, I have to keep my YouTube's views up, so I have to go with what people are calling the game. I'm like, this is stupid. It's not called God of War Ragnarok, but that's what the tags are picking up. So I'm like, I have to use it in the title. But yeah, it's not confirmed that it's called God of War Ragnarok. All right, so I guess we got enough people here. I guess we can start watching the video. So this is how Santa Monica made the Titan levels. Here we go.
All right, everybody, good morning and welcome. And before we get started, I just wanted to ask everybody to please silence your cell phones or any noise.
Oh, he's here. Bruno Velasquez. I don't know who was. Oh, I guess he's there, like right next to it. Okay.
And if you could please just remember that after this to fill out the electronic speaker evaluation forms, that would be killer. So thanks for coming down today. We appreciate it. I know Friday morning is sort of it's a tough period for most people. We're really happy that you guys could make it, and we appreciate it. And just to get things started, I'm Chris O'Neill, and I was a senior level designer on God of War 3, and I work at Santa Monica Studio.
Can you guys hear it okay, by the way?
My name is Bruno Velasquez. I'm the lead game animator at Sony Santa Monica Studios. We are really honored to be able to do this presentation with you, our peers. And I just want to say that even though there's only...
You can tell that this is an old GDC talk, because it was one of those like where the camera was really far out and you could barely see the speakers. It's more about the presentation rather than the people themselves. It's a little low. You can turn it up a little bit more. A little bit more, maybe. Because at the end of the day, I always stop the video whenever I talk, except now.
This is truly a team effort, and you know, we're just honored that we are able to...
Let me know if it's better now.
And we also wanted to thank GDC for approving this talk and letting us come up here and share this with you. So, as the title suggests, this talk is about the Titans, and it deals with level design in God of War 3 and creating the spectacle kind of landmark sequences that we had in that game, which were the Titans, Kronos, and Gaia. So using Kronos as a specific example, we're going to go through the entire development process from the beginning to the end and really outline the tools and technology as well as the philosophy that enabled us to kind of create the sequence in the, from the beginning to the end, and kind of what our process is, how we achieve this stuff.
Yeah, Goldening. I might watch it after this this GDC talk. I saw it, but I didn't have time to watch it. I might just watch it here. But you can go if you want to watch it. I'm not a huge Far Cry fan. I like the third one, and that was the only one I played. The other ones just seemed kind of crap. But I might watch it afterwards because I know it's a big deal series.
Before we do that, I wanted to just kind of talk about a couple of things and just dispel a couple of rumors or thoughts you might have about us. So, us being from Santa Monica Studio, you guys probably think that we're obsessed with violence, that we hate our fathers, that we hurt small animals, and that we engage in these like lavish masked sex parties. And I'm here to tell you that actually none of that is true. The reality is we actually just don't hate our fathers. But so it's just to kind of give you a little bit of background on who we are and what we're like. So
didn't Santa Monica do like a promotional party for God of War 2 where they sacrificed an actual goat or something, or was it a dead goat? Like they got in a lot of trouble for that. I remember that. It was many years ago. But I think it was like to get like people hyped up about God of War 2, they actually sacrificed a goat or something. I'm gonna look that up. That honestly, that could make into a really interesting video.
Just kind of fills you in a little bit.
Yes, thank you for clearing.
The sound is nice. Okay, good.
Really appreciate it. So to get things started, we just want to kick it off by showing off this video that highlights some of the moments in the Kronos Titan sequence from God of War 3. For those of you who might have not played the game, and also for those of you who have played the game, just kind of serve us a little refresher. So let's go ahead and get that playing.
That was such a cool level/boss fight. Hey, Kratos Forever, what's up, man? Be a gentle one. Jesus, the quality. That wasn't the sound. That was the music that was playing while the fight was going on. Sacrificing the goat is tradition in the Middle East because it's fresh meat. Yeah, but here in the West, like, it's not appropriate to do it like in a public event. I think it was a public event. Actually, Kratos Forever might actually know about that because he's like one of the God of War historians in the channel. Dude, do you remember the party Santa Monica had in which they sacrificed a goat or something? I think it was for the release of God of War 2. I'm gonna have to look into that, but I remember it was something along those lines. Yeah, it's the Colossus of Rhodes song, yeah. Holy crap, the quality's so bad. When was this filmed? It is such a cool level. Fifteen FPS, let's go! Dude, this is not even like Ubisoft level of quality. Snap! I just said that. Of course, I'm referring to AC Unity. But yeah, this is like 10 frames per second. I'm telling you, Kronos is way bigger than Thamur. Kronos is a bean compared to him. Well, I mean, Thamur might be slightly smaller, but I mean, they're just very close.
So my only regret about that was that I wish it were epic. So let's talk about kind of a high level on what this experience was and really kind of nail that down. So it's worth mentioning that this was the biggest undertaking that as a studio we had ever attempted to develop. Not only literally, but also from an organizational standpoint. Just the manpower alone, the amount of time, effort, resources dedicated to this was far and away unrivaled in our studio's history. We had the nice distinction of being evaluated as the #1 IGN boss battle, which was interesting for us because this was never really intended to be a boss battle per se, but nonetheless, we're really happy that that was embraced in that fashion.
There you go. I always wondered, like, was it a boss battle or a level? Because, I mean, you are fighting someone, but it feels more like a level. I kind of like these moments in gaming history where they kind of just blur the lines of what categories things are, I guess. Because, I mean, I don't know. God of War 4 is not really a hack and slasher anymore, but it's not really a game with slow combat. So it's kind of like in between. It's one step better, I would say. I don't know. It's kind of like same with this. This is a boss battle, a level. There's no classification for this. It's kind of just there in between, and that's what makes it awesome. I don't know.
The next thing worth mentioning is this is kind of a $1 million.
Hey, Quasums, what's up, man?
By that I mean it was just.
Damn it.
This is a 25-minute sequence, and the amount of time, energy, and money invested in this in order to deliver on something that's really about 1/20th of our game is pretty extreme considering.
24 months development time? Holy crap! 24 months to develop this thing? 24 months. 5 core team members, 3 dedicated.
Worth mentioning is this is a 5-core team developed kind of process, and what I mean by that is it consisted of me as the level designer, consisted as an animator, Jason Hall, it consisted of a combat designer, Adam Poole, it consisted of Tyler Breon, the character artist, and Gary Kavanaugh, the technical artist, and 3 of us were dedicated to this full time from the beginning to the end.
Also, even though we had 5 core team members, the total amount of people that were involved at the end were 35.
Holy crap.
It's about a third of our studio at the time.
420 animations.
The animations required for this character were approximately 420.
Kronos' fingernail probably took a year.
Except for Kratos himself.
Yeah, well, of course, Kuba, the infamous God of War 2 launch party where Sony actually sacrificed a freaking goat. See? The event was rated C for controversy. That's okay. I wasn't really sure if they actually brought in a dead goat, but holy crap, they brought in a live goat. Holy crap, that was messed up. I didn't actually watch it because I was in Cuba back then, but I learned about it later on. They sacrificed a goat, man. No surprise, Kronos' fingernail. Yeah, I read that. Put that into visual perspective in the game itself and not as a map would make Thamur ginormous. I still think, Kronos is a little bit bigger, but Corey said that the question is really irrelevant because giants in Norse mythology can change their size to whatever they want to. So, I don't know. He could have made himself bigger than Kronos. Cap, we should watch the making of God of War 2 videos. It has good lore in it. Well, yeah, we could. Yeah, I would have to record them because they're not really on YouTube.
The count of joints for the characters was like 500.
And if they are, they're kind of just all over the place.
He was comprised, his mesh was also extremely complex. He had 160K triangles and about 18 million polygons. The average time, as Chris mentioned before, was approximately only 25 minutes out of a 10-hour game. So it was really just it was a huge undertaking, but it really was, as a whole, the amount of playing time wasn't as big as the entirety of the game.
It's kind of sad that one of my complaints about God of War 3 is like they should have had another Titan level. And after seeing that it took 24 months to develop this one, I'm like, no, you know what? You guys get a pass. You guys are all good. That comment you read was a follow-up to my previous one? Which one? Okay, I'd say Kronos is bulkier than Thamur, while Thamur is taller. If you look at the map in God of War 4 and hover over his death side, his body length is huge. Okay, so he's going into the forensics of Kronos' death and all that.
Also, the character, this was the biggest character we've ever done. He was approximately 500 meters tall. So we've never really done anything with that scale before.
Someone did.
And so let's really talk about the kind of inspiration for this and where these ideas come from. And Albert Einstein said that creativity is knowing how well to hide your sources, and game development is certainly no different. Oftentimes things are borrowed from other projects. And at the beginning of development of God of War 2, the God of War 2 director Cory Barlog had a vision to create God of War's version of the Shadow of the Colossus, which is another interesting Sony game that came out several years ago. And that kind of set the precedent moving into the third one of how we were going to start that. If you watch the end of God of War 2, you know that it ends on the back of the Titan guy on this big cliffhanger moment, which later gets picked up at the beginning of God of War 3. And so, that kind of taking that idea and figuring out, and sharing with you guys, how do we actually achieve those moments? What is our process for, as a studio, for embracing doing these kind of high-impact games that, really can be kind of these insane spectacles and ultimately very challenging. So the Santa Monica Studio development philosophy is essentially that we always start our games with a bang. That's number one. It's that we really want to grab the player from the very beginning by the throat, almost literally, and say, this is what we're going to be showing you for the rest of the game. Here's how we're going to start it. There's no cool up. There's no cinematics really. There might be a little one, but it's just right into the gameplay. It's just boom, you're in it. And if you look at God of War 1 through 3, it's always the case.
There's up, yeah. Type creature you'd fight in Devil May Cry 4. Type creature you'd fight in Devil May Cry 4. Yeah. If you remember correctly, Sony explained in their apology that the goat was already dead, so they did not kill it just for the launch party. Oh, okay. I think I read that somewhere as well. Yeah, was it dead? Okay. Legend has it that Kronos' fingernail has more polygons than the entirety of Dante's Inferno. I mean, I find that kind of hard to believe, but then again, Dante's Inferno was under EA, and EA is freaking EA, The image he showed, Kuba. Oh, okay. Okay. Are you talking about the video where the guy compares all the big monster sizes and all that?
And we feel as a studio that we have much more of a chance of doing something exciting and something that the fans will appreciate if we think huge and really are kind of unrestricted about what we're going to try to do on a level as far as feasibility and what's achievable. And we just kind of go balls to the wall and figure out what's possible. And then we feel that after that, we can wrangle it in. We can condense it down from that rather than starting small with what's manageable and expanding outward, which we don't feel works very well for us. The other thing worth mentioning is that we playtest a lot. And I can't emphasize that enough. There's no secret that these games are released and they have high review scores, at least in our experience, is because we playtest our game probably 12 times externally during the development process, which can range from anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And internally, on any given level or boss fight, we probably playtest it between 40 to 50 times, sometimes more, per level or boss fight, depending on what stage of development it's in. So you can see that there's a lot of eyes on this. We don't develop things in a vacuum.
Yeah, Goldening, I'm kind of lost what you're talking about, dude. The context is lost to me because you've given them your message in many messages, and I don't know what you're talking about.
And the next thing worth mentioning that ties into that is that my belief and my experience working at the studio and learning from this team is that great games are really made one piece at a time. If you have an intro that's rated a 9 or a 10, and then you have a puzzle after that that's a 9 or a 10, and then you have a boss fight that's a 9 or a 10, you have a game that's a 9 or a 10 all the way through. And that's very obvious, but it was something that became kind of new to me, seeing that in practice at Santa Monica Studio.
One thing that I'm grateful about our studio is that there's a commitment to quality all the way from the top. So management really gives us free reign to be creative and to push ourselves and try to make the best game possible. We've had some great directors on the God of War series: Dave Jaffe, Corey Barlog, Stig Asmussen, and they've been the gatekeepers. Every decision is made through them. Everything from marketing pieces, everything to the music. They really have a grand vision for the game, and that actually really helps us to get things done, because we don't have to make decisions necessarily through a committee or through a publisher or anything like that. And although we do provide a lot of feedback as a team to come up with ideas, but in the end, we have that one person that really makes the hard decisions.
Curtis says God of War boss fights are 9 out of 10. For me, they're simply amazing, and I hope they bring this Titan level mechanic. God, my head got a pimple there. I hope that they bring like this. I don't know. This. It's not a mechanic. It's more of a feature, I guess. But like huge levels, like Chronos or Gaia level, like that's hasn't really been seen ever since. Ascension kind of did it with the snakes in the island of not Delos. Oh my God, where the Oracle lives. I forgot the name. Where Apollo killed the serpents. That place. Okay, that's kind of Titan mechanics, but it wasn't as well executed in my opinion. I don't know.
Also, our studio is good because we specialize. Like Chris mentioned before, we have a combat designer.
Delphi, thank you.
That focuses only on, making sure the AI feels good, making sure that Kratos feels responsive, feels great. We have level designers that focuses only on levels and the moment-to-moment events that happen in the levels. We have people that just focus on character modeling, environment modeling. So it's very, very specialized, and I think that helps
Hey, Adeline, what's up?
to really focus on the things that we really want to push and really sell. And it's a good way of approach a scene like the Titan. Also, we don't like to play it safe. We try to kind of go for something that we're not really sure if we're going to be able to pull off. So then, by the time that we finish it, we hopefully still have something that was pretty grand.
And so at the beginning of God of War 3, the God of War 3 director, Stig Asmussen, he set forth to establish the vision with the team and really to figure out not only where the game will take place and what are the locations and the kind of grand moments, but also leveraging the previous moments from God of War 2 and really trying to create those within God of War 3 and the Titan moments specifically. So let's just talk quickly about establishing a vision for our games. What does that mean? So when we set out to create our games, generally the entire studio will spend a month or so, coming up with ideas, submitting ideas to the director, regarding locations. And so our locations can be anything from ideas like I want to go to the future, I want to go to Egypt, let's do something in the Stone Age, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But if you look at God of War 3, our key locations in that game were Olympus, were Hades, and the caverns and the labyrinth were kind of the key locations. And so it really gives you kind of the diversity of not only the visual landscapes that you're going to be traveling, but it just gives you good pacing and to understand the tone of your game.
Isn't that kind of, I guess that goes, because that's what Uncharted 3 did, I think, and that's one of the things that fans of that series complained about. Because the director, whoever made Uncharted 3, I know it was Naughty Dog, but they were like, oh, we want to have a boat set piece, an airplane thing, and they just listed off things, and then they built a story around those events. And that's kind of what messed up the narrative in that game, as people say. But then again, I feel like if I were to make a game, this is how I would do it. Like if I were, I'm not saying I want to. If I were to direct the next God of War, I want to have a Fenrir boss fight. I want to have a Thor boss fight. Like I want to go to Vanaheim and then like just kind of make the story around that. I guess, I think that's how it works in games because you have to bring the fun element to it, right? When you're writing a novel or a movie, like you don't really have to worry about the mechanics of the novel because it doesn't have any. It's just the story. So a game makes it a little bit more complicated. I wish the bird boss fight was in the game so that we could have this the same feeling like fighting the Titans. Yeah, it was cut. I know it was cut from the game, but right now I don't know if we're gonna fight that Helheim bird anymore. They kind of did the Titan level with the dragon fight too. No, it's not the same thing. I mean, it's huge, and it took a lot of memory and space to actually build a dragon because it's a full dragon, but I don't think it counts as one of the Titan levels. Good God, I remember God of War 3 hype was through the roof back in the day. It reached such critical level that I personally never thought was even possible for a game in general. Yeah, it was in the was it the fifth generation, sixth or seventh generation, whatever. The PlayStation 3 generation, like it was one of the most anticipated games when it was announced. Corey Bar like taking notes right now for bosses.
The next thing we really focus on is defining what our epic set pieces are, and that's very important for us because if you look at God of War, there's a lot of
See, like they're doing all of these things before the actual story.
That you'll visit kind of frequently throughout your experience playing through the game. And in God of War 2, another senior level designer and that works at our studio, Jonathan Hawkins, he had using this image kind of came up with an idea from the movie Cube to kind of create a sequence in our game, which ended up being the labyrinth. So that's another idea as well, is to kind of establish those set pieces. And then lastly, we really work on establishing what are our wow moments. What are the things that are really going to anchor and brand the player in their brain, and kind of the things that they're going to remember, 2 years from now, a month from now, 10 years from now. Those things that really cement it in their mind. And we think about those three things.
I remember, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Yeah, they really did deliver Kratos Forever, because for God of War 3 was my favorite game up until God of War 4 came out, because technically speaking, like it was simply amazing on the PlayStation 3. I remember I saved the game right before fighting Kronos, so every once in a while I would just go and fight the guy again because it was so technically amazing. It was like one single shot, I think. Even like in the transition from the cutscene to the gameplay, there's a flash of lightning to kind of hide the load time, I guess. It's not just a load screen that says loading. There's like a thunder, and then you start fighting the guy. Like it's seamless. God of War 3 is simply amazing.
And that's the kind of holistic approach that we take in order to establish.
Yeah, the seventh generation. Yeah, thank you.
We don't define our game by story. We don't define our game not by story, but we generally define our game in terms of what do we want to do. What is the most compelling thing in terms of locations, set pieces, or wow moments? And the director will distill these ideas down and filter them through him, and he'll ultimately make the final decisions.
So part of establishing that early vision also is the previs. Getting the art team and the concept art team to start developing some inspirational pieces of the scenes that we really want to go for. So this particular one here is showing off the Kronos sequence and Kratos, running around on his arm, kind of setting the tone, setting the scale, and it's really, really a good platform for us to jump off and start exploring about how we're going to actually get this done. Next thing also is doing a lot of storyboarding, especially in the more complex sequences. This is just a really cheap way for us to get something down with the director and start fleshing out some ideas of what perhaps the sequence could entail. So it's very important for us to do this sort of stuff.
Oh
Next
God!
thing I want to share with you is this video.
Wait a second. Was that a God of War 2 Kratos model on the PlayStation 3?
Storyboarding, especially in the more complex sequences.
Oh crap! And I gotta ask Bruno about the demos on God of War 3 thing.
It's just a really cheap way for us to get something down with the director and start fleshing out some ideas of what.
Thank God I saw this because I forgot about that.
Could entail.
That's God of War 2. Yeah, it's not the God of War 3 version of Kratos from God of War 2. It's just the God of War 2
one. It's very
one.
important for us to do this sort of
Yeah, this
stuff.
was very
Next
early
thing I
on.
want to share with you is this video. This is a pretty cool previous video that we did. We took God of War 2 assets. We actually grabbed the Cyclops and we just scaled them up and started parenting all these environments on them. And it was just really just an early way for us to start kind of wrapping our heads around how we were going to do, what sort of things were going to occur on the Titans. And at this point, we didn't have any tech or anything at all. All we had just old assets. So we just started, kind of putting things together to get things rolling.
And what's great about
I don't know if I could do game development, because if I would work on that, I'm like, holy crap, this is so undone. Like I don't know how I'm gonna get it done. Like I would be so negative all the time. Like I would just release a game like that, I think. Those clearly look like God of War 2 models, huh? Even the resolution. Yeah, like you said, he just used the assets from God of War 2. And I remember there was barely any new God of War 3 trailers, making the wait insufferable, but at the same time even more exciting. But as soon as the proper news trailer hit, it hit twice as hard. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't in Canada back then, but once I came, I remember watching like fake God of War 3 trailers. I'm like, is this it? Is this one of the real ones? Because I didn't really understand gaming before. In Cuba, I would just rent a game and be like, okay, I'm gonna play this one, I guess.
What that is that you can really kind of prototype something very cheaply without having
that effing Cyclops looks so cool.
Or anything really other than things you already have, and it's a a huge saving grace.
There was a similar fight in Ascension with Polyphemus, I guess. But yeah, it's multiplayer.
For us, because you can sell that idea immediately to the team and to yourself. So let's quickly talk about the brainstorming process. There's a lot of different philosophies, and a lot of different people in studios have different ways of doing it. The way we do it at Santa Monica Studio seems to be effective for us, so I thought I would just touch on that really quickly. Generally, when we kick off a brainstorm, the director will come into a meeting with the design team, and he'll submit a photo, usually, or a high concept. And in this case, the photo would have been something previously that we had shown, which is that high concept vision for Kronos. And so the team is essentially tasked at that point with 3 criteria that they need to define as a group. And so one is getting on it. Well, how do you get on it? What do you do? Do you fly a plane and do it? I mean, do you go to a Chuck E. Cheese and then like he picks up the Chuck E. Cheese and swallows it? Like whatever. Like how do you get on it? What do you do there? Like what is the thing that you're doing when you're on the creature? And that's very important as well.
But okay, see, like the reason for getting on it, they need to involve the writers on it, like because Kratos needs a reason to be on it, like, and he's looking for the Ophila stone, so the writers have to be involved in it. Like, I guess they can just build the rig and be like, oh, Kratos is standing here, and then Kronos just pulls him up, I guess. But I guess the narrative has to be involved in here as well. Cycle looks like he's got a retainer in. Yeah, he's not meant to look realistic, guys.
Do you kill it? Do you drown it? I mean, is he your buddy? Like, what happens? Do you guys go to McDonald's? I mean, I don't know. So you just kind of have to figure those 3 things out. And then the third thing is that the team will break into groups, or individually rather, for 30 minutes, at which point, we'll go read Wikipedia or try to come up with different concepts.
Sounds like school.
Our brain with ideas, and we'll basically write all those down within the criteria framework, and we'll bring them back. And we'll regroup and we'll put it on the board. And that's a pretty gnarly process, and it takes a lot of time, but it's very valuable because you get a lot of ideas, and it's a huge smattering of different ideas. And then at which point the director and the leads will take that list and they'll evaluate that privately, and they'll figure out what are their favorite 3 within that list. And that group of maybe 6 to 8 people will get together and they'll ask his popularity, which actually is totally a typo, but I just left it in there because I thought it was kind of funny. And designer spelling, we're super good at it. And at which point then we'll figure out and assess the popularity of it, and it'll probably get distilled down to a few, at which point the director will make the ultimate decision on which ones he wants to put in the game. So it's a very democratic process that involves a lot of people, and we find it to be very effective in leveraging the cohesive kind of team brain rather than the individual brain, which is one way of doing it, but we find the strength in numbers is very important. So you know a little bit about our philosophy, a little bit about establishing the vision in our studio, and a little bit about the inspiration, but let's talk about the research and development, because this is not something that was very easy for us to do. We didn't have the technology that was in place in order to pull this off. There was a lot of new things we needed.
Hey, Cody, what's up, man? Welcome. I'm glad you're done with school for now, at least. It really is like it's cool, but at least they do something they love. It's all about finding the solutions to complicated problems, just like math, but like 10 times harder. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think I could work in game development. Like, I've seen the documentaries, and they fight amongst each other because they're passionate. They all want to see the game go one way, and they're just passionate. But it's grueling work, man. And I'm actually listening to Jason Schreier's last book. I forget what it's called, but it's about like how hard it is to keep up work in the game development industry. How you can be fired almost instantly. I don't know how true that is, because I mean every writer is biased in some way, but I mean it sounds very difficult.
So first and foremost, let's see if this is not cooperating. So there we go. Initially, we didn't have the ability to attach a character to a mesh and move the mesh around and have the character respond. So Fabrice Odero, one of our senior programmers, basically, who works on our navigational system, he created a dynamic state transition system that would allow any AI or player character that while moving, the environment around him would respond dynamically to that. So that was a huge element in terms of selling the dynamism within that experience. So that when players are playing through it, they really feel like I'm on this creature. I'm not just like standing on a static object.
So next, this is our gray box man, which was the initial iteration of the Titan as soon as it loads up. Basically,
cardboard box.
It was just a quick way for us to get something, just start animating something, start trying to figure out if this guy is going to be walking on 2s, on all 4s, what is he going to be doing in the environment, how is he going to be attacking or interacting with Kratos. But this way, it was just something really cheap and dirty that we could do. And the nice thing about this is that we were able to get this guy into the game and start actually prototyping and getting creators to attach to him and
Looks so
climb on
goofy.
him, in a very, very economical way.
Yeah, I'm done with school too, like since a decade ago. Yeah, me too, man. And now comes the hard part, just figuring out life. Because, you know, when you're in school, you're like, this sucks. I want to be an adult. No, you don't. No, you don't. Being an adult sucks, man. I think glasses and punches would be thrown if I worked there. Hey, Mert, what's up, man? I just here to say hi, but first I go. All right, take it easy, man. Thank you for stopping by. Holy crap, I'm sure that took months to develop. Speaking of the dynamic mesh moving, it's amazing the work that goes into it.
You know, now that we had this gray box, man, we wanted to iterate and start fleshing out what the character was going to look like. So this is the cinematic model from God of War 2. So we were able to strip that from the cinematics that were actually high rendered, that were a separate model than the one that was actually used in the game. And we were able to just quickly take that and start adapting it and start getting into our new engine. So that was a huge savings of time for us.
That's cool.
So you all know this, that, you know, you make games, you design levels, it's very obvious that usually you're working in a static environment. Like, yeah,
take it easy, man.
Levels will change or something a little bit, but generally it's a static medium. And the big challenge for us is that, you know, we built this on a real creature. This isn't fake. So how do we do that? That was the initial super challenge for us to achieve, was actually getting all of our in-game kind of scripting logic and our in-game entity system that controls our cameras, our level scripting, our sound, and everything to actually exist on the player. There was no way that we could do this without having a system created that would allow us to attach it to the creature. So Matt Arrington, one of our senior tools programmers, basically built us a system along with our tech art department that enabled us to attach specific, any game object that we wanted within Maya to specific joints that were defined on the creature. And so as you can see here, you have you know, everything in red is kind of designer entities and scripting, and everything in green is for the camera team, and everything in blue is for sound. And so that as the character moves around like this, those objects from the T-pose would also match the mesh and the position that he moved in. So this is a hugely important part in actually selling this experience, because if we couldn't have all of the actual information within the game following the character, there was no way we could achieve this without it being a cinematic.
Golem Kronos.
So I'm sure you're wondering, well, okay, that's all well and good when you're in a T-pose, but unfortunately the game isn't played like this, because if it were, it would be pretty bad. So what we ended up having to figure out was, well, what happens when the character's moving? So if the character, you know, is in an animation, then what do we do? And
well, let me read the chat a little bit. If I could meet my 14-year-old now, I would slap the hell out of me, knowing I wanted so bad to grow up and get a job. Yeah, screw that, man. This just sucks. Imagine working on the same thing perpetually for years. That's game development. Yep. And the thing is, you can't really enjoy it after it's done, because, I mean, Cory Barlog doesn't go back home like, oh, I can't wait to play some God of War. Like, he worked on it. Like, he has nightmares about the game, I'm sure. So I got a notification. Let me just mute my phone. Yep. I hope to return the super realistic cutscenes like in God of War 2. Oh, like the CGI? No, that's a thing of the past, man. Like, that was from the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 era. Game graphics have caught up, like, even more than that. Like, they're better than those CGI cutscenes, in my opinion. God, the animation rig looks so complicated. I'm so jealous right now. I wish I knew how to do this complicated stuff. It looks like a freaking nightmare.
The problem with that was that, you know, immediately going from this to going to this or anything, all those game objects that you had at a specific kind of orientation within Maya would just shoot all across the level, and it became super nightmarish for us to try to build this way. And so what we ended up having to do was to basically create a preview animation system that TechArt created for us, which allowed us to play animations and to see where those specific game objects would exist within the creature itself. And this is, I can't even emphasize how annoying this process was in the long run. It was the only way we could do it, but it just takes forever, because for all 400 animations that you have to check that each specific object that you need is in the exact right location at any point within the animation timeline. And it just, you can imagine how much of a nightmare that is.
And it also kind of sucks. Like, imagine, God of War 3 did really good when it came to reviews, and it sold pretty well. But imagine being these guys working on the Kronos level. That took 24 months to create, okay? And then the game story is crap, and all the other boss battles are crap, and then you don't really get that recognition afterwards. Like, the game just doesn't get, at least your area doesn't get the love that it deserves. Right? It's kind of sad, because, I mean, God of War and a few other games are the exception, but
and it's this thing, there's no secret this thing took
420 animations, yeah.
So that kind of gives you an idea of kind of how we achieved
Ascension
that.
be
The
like.
most important thing is that, really emphasizing in this video is that we could not have actually done this sequence without this technology. And the next thing that we had to do was to create a new collision system. And so Vasily Filipov, our lead programmer, and Jim Thielander, a senior programmer on our team, essentially created us a system that enabled us to put collision on a meshed character, on something that wasn't like a kind of a primitive geometry. And as you can see here, we kind of have we have the arm of Kronos, and the green is the run, and the red is kind of like a no-slip stuff. And the important thing about that is that we had gone from a studio that could basically move around primitive shapes that we called CD hulls that could be animated, but they couldn't be very dynamic or really stray too much or have too many polygons, to a system that enabled us to animate a mesh in the same way we would animate a creature and to attach collision to it. And so as you can see here, here's Kronos as his actual, like, whatever 50 million or whatever polygon count. I don't even know. It's out of control. But we could never put collision on a creature like that because the amount of just faces on a creature is just, it's too crazy. So there was no way to do it in that fashion. So this mesh was actually just a visual component. There was really no collision attached to him. And what we ended up doing was, in the same way you'd have like armor pieces, we had specific instance versions of collision by region that we would turn on and off throughout the sequence. So we would define it by hand, by stomach, by arm. And it was the only way we could do it without crippling the power of the PlayStation, because if you put collision on a character that big, it's just not going to run. So
visually speaking, God of War 3 was just ahead of its time. I think even to this day, it's still beautiful. You can call me biased if you want, but I think God of War 3 looked better than Ascension. And I think it's because Ascension just wasn't polished enough. There's some issues with the visuals and also the audio. But in God of War 3, I remember it being mind-blown when you were like finishing off the Minotaurs, like the regular enemies. And like they would have their mouth open and you would see their tongue just kind of moving around and it seemed kind of slippery, like kind of wet. I'm like, and when they breathe, like they breathed out like steam. I'm like, Jesus, like the amount of detail that went into this. The Minotaur in that game looks so realistic, and it's a small part. I don't know. People working on Kronos for 2 years straight. But bye, honey, I'm going to work on Kronos. I'm assuming people got divorced because of Kronos. Can you imagine that? A video game character might have caused some divorces. Divorce? Whatever.
This is the way we were able to achieve it, and it was definitely a new system for us.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So this video showcases a combination of like the 3 months of research and development.
That's a God of War 2 model right there.
An actual model in an environment. We had Kratos fighting enemies. He wasn't completely falling off. He was able to nab on them, and we had some kind of rough animation blocked in.
All right, so we've talked about all that stuff, the tools, the technology, the philosophy, etc. And now how do we sell it? This is an important thing. So from the very beginning, the mandate was, well, we can't just create this kind of like magnificent, like idiot robot. Like this needs to be legit. This needs to be like an actual creature that you feel you're having an interaction with, that emotes, that lives, that breathes. It can't be, we can't spend 2 years developing something and just have it be ill-received. So we really need to focus on how we sell this experience. So the first mandate that Stig gave me specifically, who was our game director in God of War 3, was this thing needs to be alive. We have to bring it to life. If it doesn't feel alive, we're totally screwed. So how do we achieve that? How do we bring this thing to life? And the first thing we really tried to create was the emotional buildup. So if you play through this experience, from the beginning, Kronos is rather, amused with Kratos. He's kind of holding him on his thumb, laughing at his grandson, and he's basically like, oh, whatever, you're a flea to me. I don't care about you. You blind him. He gets irritated. You land on his hand. You break a sword. Now he's kind of pissed off. And then you proceed forward, rip his fingernail off. Now he's furious. He's angry. He's like, what are you doing? You're like ripping my fingernail off. I gotta kill you now. And so.
Yeah, I was wondering what currency that was. The guy looked like Stalin from Russia. Is it Russian currency? I don't know. Wait, why an Iraqi? Okay, so it's Iraqi then. I didn't really know. I bet the animators cheered when they were told they didn't have to add collision to all of Kronos. I mean, the PlayStation would have crashed. Like he said, like it wouldn't have run.
So he goes through this kind of dramatic kind of character arc, and through that process, he ultimately is defeated, and he goes through these kind of agonized stages where he's becoming progressively more and more disturbed and defeated. And so he really wanted to try to achieve that in telling that story for the character. The next thing was we had to really keep this believable. Yes, it's Greek mythology. Yes, it's fantasy. But we came at it from the perspective of how would a man kill the giant? And we felt that if we could anchor it in that context, then it would feel more interesting and more believable for the player in the context of God of War.
There you go. Fucking Fallen God. Like Kratos flying all over the map and just punching the hippopotamus. There you go. It has to. Let me just replay it for the writers at Fallen God, okay? Let's listen to that again.
In telling that story for the character. The next thing was we had to really keep this believable. You know, yes, it's Greek mythology, yes, it's fantasy, but we came at it from the perspective of how would a man kill the giant? And we felt that if we could anchor it in that context, then it would feel more interesting and more believable for the player in the context of God of War. So that was very key to us as well.
There you go. Keep it realistic in a supernatural sense. It's like, yeah, he has a blade of Olympus that's magical, but he just doesn't go like, Bazoon! That's kind of what you. I hated the last issue of Fallen God so much. Like Kratos flying and punching the hippopotamus. Freaking hated that.
The next thing is dynamicism, which actually isn't really a word, but it's just kind of something we throw around in Santa Monica, and it's just really is the dynamism aspect. It's making sure that we have those moments where the character throws his arm out and guys, grunts are falling off and falling into the abyss, or or rocks are falling, and the character is moving and you're changing states. You really had to bring that, and we really had to sell that.
So the animation early on, when we pitched this idea, we knew that it was going to be critical to sell the emotion and to sell the progression of the battle, and as well as dealing with an actual moving level. We hadn't really done that before. The visual effects were also going to be a critical part. All the sequences in which Kratos interacts with them and begins to slowly kill him or do damage to him. We knew that the visual effects had to be spot on and had to really complement the animation, as well as the sound effects and the VO. It was important for us to have these sort of dialogue in place so that he could kind of have a back and forth with Kratos. So it wasn't just some soulless creature that didn't have any feelings or emotions. We really wanted to make sure, so that's why it was important for us to fit as much dialogue as possible throughout the sequence.
So here we have Kratos, men love him, women want to be him, whatever.
Is that the size?
He's 7 feet tall, roughly, on average. Then we have...
There you go. Kratos is 7 feet tall. That's where people got it from, I guess.
Hades, who's about 20, 25 feet tall. Then we have the Colossus, who is, I can't read that, but he's pretty big. And this is actually the real reference size of how this would be in the real world. You have the Empire State Building now next to the Colossus. And then finally you have Kronos, who comes in at about 1,600 feet tall. And so you can see the actual kind of scale that we're dealing with here on a character such as this.
So we knew, of course, that the scale was going to be critical to really sell this, to make this really grand. But in order for us to do that, we also wanted to make him a real character, not just a set of pieces, like one arm here and one head there. We really want to build a whole character. And this really was challenging, but it was actually, at the end, it was a big payoff. We also needed to have moments of relative scale. That's why we had enemies running on Kronos and Kratos interacting with other enemies other than him. We also had to display moments where we could show Pandora's temple that was strapped to Kronos' back, which God of War, probably I think around 70% of the game took place on the back of Kronos. So we wanted to make sure that we included those moments, as well as the moments where you could see Kronos place his hand on the side of the mountain and then kind of show a couple shots of the ground to really sell that relative scale.
Yeah, I mean, Blade of Olympus go brrr. Yeah, I mean, if Kratos just stood up and just go like brrr, and killed them with the Blade of Olympus, that wouldn't have been fun. It's not really exciting. I don't know. Well, the first fight against Baldur was pretty much anime or superhero stuff inspired as well. No. Yeah, I mean, kinda. Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, they're just destroying the environment completely. But I mean, they're two gods. I don't know. It's not. That one would be the most anime-like fight, I guess. But for some reason, I just don't have an issue with that. I don't know. I just don't find it as a big deal. Kratos is not really the one being too anime. Like, he's still Kratos. He has to punch the mural and drop it on him. Like, Baldur is the one that's uppercutting him into the air and stuff. Like, I don't know. As long as it's not Kratos doing it, I'm fine with it. I don't know. Maybe.
The camera work was also very critical. We had to make sure that we had dynamic upshots, downshots, and then that's another reason why we wanted to have a real character in the environment, because there was many points where we needed to really remind the player that they were on top of this giant character, and the director would say, pull the camera back, way back. And if we didn't have the real character, we would have ran into a lot of problems. So by having this guy really being in the environment, really saved us.
Yo, Gone Hunter, thank you so much, man. Welcome to the members. Enjoy the show.
Also, we wanted to keep it all real time. So we really reduced the amount of cutscenes that we had during the sequence and the amount of cuts. It was one consistent camera throughout from the very beginning to the end, with the exception of maybe when he swallows you and you go down his throat. That was probably the only time that we really cut. But other than that, it was sort of like a seamless thing. We kind of, were inspired by like scenes from movies like the opening of Boogie Nights, where it's just one constant shot going through one scene, of course, without all the cocaine. But we really wanted to sell that. And of course.
So yeah, even since it's what David Jaffe said, I think in an interview, like they've been trying to do the whole single shot camera thing since God of War 1. Like they've always wanted a seamless experience, no in between chapters or anything like that. Kind of sounds like an excuse to me. What does? Kratos was acting like One Punch Man, Fallen God. Oh my God. Okay, I see. He just came in. He just came in to say that I sounded like I was making an excuse for Kratos against Baldur. I don't know. It didn't bother me as much, but I kind of agree with Kratos versus Kratos Forever there. It is the more anime fight, I guess. But I don't know. Again, like Kratos is not the one being anime.
Like I mentioned before,
it might be an excuse. I don't know.
Animation was critical to sell the scale. We needed to make sure that this guy felt heavy, that he felt grand and slow. So it was a special challenge for our animation team to really pull it off.
And so Bruno did a great job in emphasizing kind of the sense of scale and how we achieved that. But let's talk about the design decisions that were intentionally made from the very beginning. And the first thing that we made, very clear as a team, was that establishing this was an experience and not a traditional boss fight. God of War has a lot of great boss fights. If you look at Hades, that was a really cool one. Or if you look at the Hydra in the beginning, we have traditional boss fights that are stage-based encounters where you fight a guy who's roughly your size at this stage, and you do damage, and you move to the next stage, and you're engaged in kind of a natural combat and a natural kind of narrative in fighting. And in this, we were not emphasizing that. You really wanted to sell the experience, not so much a boss fight. The next thing is, that as designers, we're always trying, and level designers as well.
That's what I mean, because it's heavily scripted, though.
To the player, whenever we're creating our environments, we always want to, dangle that carrot in front of their face. And this is certainly no exception. And, when we were playtesting it, we would ask people, what do you think the goal is? And, overwhelmingly the response was, it's his head, it's his head. You see his head, and that's where I'm supposed to go, which was actually our intention, but we were surprised people intuitively knew that. And the other thing that you really wanted to establish was that in addition to having the large goal, you need to have those intermediate goals as well. So if that's moving from, the wrist up to the forearm, and then destroying his fingertip, and showing those goals all along the way, and presenting them every few minutes is very important for us. And in doing that, and in having those kind of intermediate goals and long-term goals, we really feel it's very important to reward the player for everything that we ask them to do. And that so as you move up eventually to his belly, and go through this whole sequence where you're fighting a Cyclops on his shoulder. You're rewarded with being able to be swallowed by him and go down into his stomach and then break out of his stomach. And every 5 minutes, the player is experiencing something cool. And I really call God of War kind of a bro on the couch game, because I feel that every 5 minutes, somebody watching you play is going to see something interesting. Whether it's ripping the eye out of a Cyclops, or if it's fighting a Titan, or whatever
bro
it
on
is.
the couch.
Every 5 minutes, you really try to give someone a big payoff. And the next thing, obviously, is comfortable pacing. Yes, this is a high-impact sequence, and yes, it's very tense, seemingly, but we couldn't expect the players to be stressed out for 25 minutes, constantly dying, constantly frustrated. We had to create the sense of danger at all times with picking and choosing very specifically when we were going to actually have it be tense and hazardous. And then lastly, plausibility. And we just really needed to make the whole situation make sense. There were no laser beams. We weren't going to, ride a magical unicorn and strangle him with an invisible lasso. We couldn't do anything like that. We had to have it make sense. Is this justifiable? Could a man kill a creature of this size?
Okay, so we had our
It's kind of similar to what I said with the Blade of Olympus. There were no lasers, no invisible unicorns. That was pretty good. Destruction fights like God of War 4 are expensive in all of media. of media, you mean? That's not a problem. But Kratos' behavior in Fallen God makes him look like an anime character. Yeah, he just doesn't behave like that. Like he said right there, he doesn't fly in a magical unicorn. He gets it done because he's a Spartan. He's tactical. He just works around the problems. I don't know. This place looks kind of Egyptian. What place? This picture here? Kratos versus Baldur definitely was the most over-the-top boss battle in a way like never before. It was selling the new combat and camera systems. Not that I'm complaining about it at all. That's what I mean. Like, that's not something that... Maybe that's why I didn't feel it as anime-like, I guess, because the camera never cut. Like, it always followed one of the characters, and it always came back to Kratos. It was done well. I don't know. I have no complaints about it either.
Research and development, we've roughed out, some stuff. We kind of had the layout of what the events were going to happen. We knew what the goals were. Now it was time to actually start executing this sequence. And of course, Kronos was going to be the star of the show. So we needed to focus on him, make him really, really detailed. And one of the biggest challenges was for the modeler, Tyler Brion, the character artist that worked on Kronos, that usually we have character artists focus on just the characters, and we have environment artists just do the environments. But this was a unique case, because we had to tell Tyler, guess what? You're now promoted to environment artist as well as a character artist, because at first we were going to have two different people work on this character, one for environments, one for character separately, but we found out that just wasn't going to work out, because it's like having two people work on the same thing at the same time. It was really challenging. So I think it worked out for us to actually have the character artist kind of take over that responsibility as well.
And the next thing that was super important to touch on is that, generally in a level design process at our studio, the designers will work on kind of the levels in isolation from the artists, and we'll kind of build things in Maya and essentially construct our spaces how we want and iterate on them. Unfortunately, in this case, we didn't have that luxury, because we had to create this in tandem with the actual physical model itself. And so, when you're on top of the hand, or under the hand rather, as you can see in this photo, and Kratos is kind of climbing along that path. And the thing that was very challenging was that, in that ceiling climb state, the creature, would move his hand animated slightly, and then he would fall. And there wasn't enough fidelity actually carved into the mesh that enabled us to have kind of clean navigational transitions through the mesh. So what ended up happening was, in order for us to get that cut properly, it was pretty much a nightmarish process where I had to take screenshots, and as you can see here, kind of draw in and say, I need more fidelity here, cut here, cut here, cut here. And then the character artist, Tyler, would spend, an afternoon doing that, and then he would hand that off to our technical artist, who would then reskin the whole thing, and that process took about 2 to 3 days. So you can imagine just assembling that, just the back and forth, and that pipeline was just super arduous, but it was the only way that we really could do it at the time, so it was definitely worth noting, but super frustrating.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about sort of the challenges that we're facing in each department. And as Chris mentioned, Tech Art had to continuously update this character. And one of the things that we added to Kronos, after the E3 demo was well received, there was a sequence there where the centaur got degutted by Kratos, and you would see his entrails come out. So the director was really happy with that, and he's like, okay, we gotta do that in a much grander scale. We gotta put that in Kronos. So we had to kind of transfer this zipper tech that we have developed from a very small character into this really gigantic scale, and that was really, really complicated. Also, we had, as I mentioned before, a massive joint count. Not that kind of joint, but we had 500,
Comedy.
that we had to deal with. So we had full facial animation on the character. We had full fingers, everything that was required to really bring them to life. And every time that, as Chris mentioned before, they had to change the path of where Kratos was going to be running, they had to reskin it every time. Eventually, we developed a system where we could transfer the skinning a lot easier. But early on at the beginning, it was not that way. It was definitely challenging. And for animation.
Just imagine the pain of doing all of these computational hungry tasks on the PlayStation 3 hardware. Damn. Yeah, I heard that it was really difficult for developers to work on the PlayStation 3, at least third-party developers. I don't really know why. I'm not really too much into the technical part of things. But I've heard like people complaining during the PlayStation 3 era that it was really difficult to make games on, and I really don't know why. No guts, no glory. He just went for that joke.
We have never really done something like this. Usually we animate a character that interacts in the environments, but we never had a character that was the environment. So we had to definitely figure out how we're going to do this off, how to pull this off. And because of that, we had to deal with stability issues versus aesthetic issues. And what I mean by that is that, of course, we want to make this guy feel alive, like he's really there, and not just some animatronic character. But at the same time, we had to keep in mind the gameplay. So we couldn't just have him flail around and move like crazy, because things could, craters could fall off, things could break, and then that wouldn't have worked out. So we had to constantly balance that with design. All right, does the character feel alive? Yes. Is he moving? Is he not moving too much, just enough so that the gameplay is stable? Yes. And then we were able to achieve that in the end. Also, the animation resolution, because the character was so large, the further you got out to his extremities, like fingertips, the animation would start shaking, and it would just start becoming unstable. So we had to deal with that, and we had to work with our tech art department to find solutions for animation compression, so that it would be able to work in the end.
So let's give it up for Keyboard Cat real fast. And we love Keyboard Cat. And so basically, the level design.
Yeah, the software/hardware of the PlayStation 3 was complicated and pretty hard to learn. They had to squeeze every drop of power from the hardware, and that just complicates things times 5. Sure. You have what you came for. Let me be. I always find it funny in a way that Kronos happened to notice Kratos acquired the Ophilos stone from his stomach. I think he saw the on-screen prompt too. And it's odd. I guess it's something they knew it could be used for the future. Like he knew, like you have what you came for. Yeah, let me be. Like he just saw him holding it. Hey Jonas, what's up, man? The PlayStation 3 was hard to develop because of the unique CPU architecture that was completely different to all traditional architectures. Yeah, see, I don't know any of that.
Challenges that we faced, at least for myself, were that I went from basically working on maps and designing levels and then handing them off to art in a kind of traditional pipeline that's governed. You hand it off, you just assume it's going to get done. We have producers that worry about that, and yeah, you'll interface with the artist a little bit, and they'll come ask you questions. But this is very different. In this instance, the level designer myself at the time, essentially became the nucleus of this effort insofar as that my job kind of transitioned into also, half producer. I was the only person who really knew everything that was going on with this creature amongst a massive team that eventually was comprised of 35 people. So, no one else knows. So we didn't have a producer on it. So, half
he was pretty much the director of Kronos.
The other half is just like kind of task management and figuring out where everything is and who's working on what and when it's going to be ready. So that was certainly a new challenge. The next thing was, I literally had to become like one with the animator. I mean, we might as well have just had our bodies sutured together, because he was my left hand and I was his right hand, because I couldn't work without him, and he was basically moving my level around, and without us being able to directly collaborate very easily, it was near impossible to do anything in a reasonable time frame. So we had to actually end up sitting together just side by side, and essentially it was like stepbrothers, like we were bunkmates. So it just became kind of weird, but it was actually super necessary in the end. And then also working, like I said earlier, with the new collision system was terribly daunting. It had a lot of challenges associated with it in terms of debugging it and making it work. And then, reliance on other disciplines. And like I said before, traditionally designers at our studio can kind of work in isolation, but in this case, it was being very much tied into the animation team, very much tied into the tech art team and the character art team. And I needed these guys in order to achieve what we were trying to achieve. I couldn't do it by myself. And then as far as camera design is concerned, obviously the moving foundation is a huge concern. How do you camera level when it's moving? So we needed to kind of tackle that and figure that out. And Mark Simon, our lead camera designer, who did a great job on God of War 3 cameraing this character level, I think he nailed that pretty well. And
I know he worked in Ascension as well. Mark Simon.
Sense of scale was super challenging for us, and
For the PS4, they switched to the x86 architecture, which is used on PCs. Again, I really don't know what any of that means. I'm not a tech guy, but I just know that Gabe Newell did not like working on the PlayStation 3 at all. He hated it.
Not being afraid to pull the camera in to show the detail, but also, like Bruno had said, being able to pull it out. So those are challenges that we face in new ways of designing.
Nope.
So we've talked a lot about kind of where we came from, but let's talk about what happened when we were actually getting it done. So After the initial research and development phase and that prototype you guys saw earlier, where we were into the development process was Nathan Gary was the level designer on it at the time who had pioneered the technology and kind of taken it in its very early stage. And the goal now was to get it into a shell form, which is essentially to take it from the very beginning all the way to the end with our big kind of spectacle moments mocked in. It gives us kind of a rough outline that you can play through. It doesn't have the connective tissue. It doesn't really have anything in it other than the kill, and then all the intro, maybe 5 nodes of like what you do from the very beginning all the way through. And it's basically just to kind of get like a starting outline, a starting palette to work from within. But let's talk quickly about that because this is very important for our level design kind of process. We like I mentioned, we use a process where we define shells for our levels. And so as you can see here, this is the...
Yeah, what is this? Okay, start. Hades front. Okay, I see it now. I see it. Hades front, yeah, the 2 platforms. Palace. Holy crap, even like designing maps is difficult as hell. Gangbang! I guess that's the Aphrodite room. It's called Gangbang. Let's see a key. Precipitous. Icarus Ascent. I'm trying to figure out. I can't read the map. Golden Shower? 3 judges. Peninsula. Squeeze 'em. Judges. Wait, wouldn't the judges be on Icarus Ascent? Is that something else? I think this is the underworld map. Why is this called Gangbang though? Bitch slap? Okay. I'm trying to read all of them. Soul Rip, so that's where you kill Hades. I'm trying to put it together, okay. Yeah, the new Hades layout, that's the underworld, yeah. But what's the Gangbang though? Like what's that?
The Hades shell from God of War 3. And what shells enable us to do is to create a continuous mapping and progression of our worlds, and this is the Hades world, and all the levels that are comprised within that world, and how do they physically fit together, not only obviously physically, but also in terms of what is the pacing for each area. We need to have a boss fight here, we need to have like a loading.
Okay, let me try and figure it out. So you start the game here. Hades. You see the palace entrance here, maybe? So you have to go through the chain, and then Souls Pools. I'm honestly seeing things that are not in the game, because you can't really go through this. What is this Souls Pool? This is actually pretty interesting, because you go through the chain, you climb on the chain, and you go through. Sorry, you go through here, and then you meet the guy with the Apollo's bow. Right? I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, all of this is not really Icarus Ascent. That's not in Hades. And if it would be in Hades, it would be here. These are areas that I don't think actually made it into the final game. Alt branch. Hephaestus. This is really interesting.
Hallway here. There needs to be a puzzle here, a fight space here, and we'll actually go through and meticulously...
Gangbang, I think Santa Monica handed over that idea to Ready at Dawn for Ghost of Sparta? No. The red numbers are the orbs you receive from that areas. Now I'm curious. Is it really? Oh, it could be, yeah. He might actually explain.
Spreadsheet this stuff and figure out where are our wow moments, what is the time breakdown of our wow moments, where are our fights, what are the time breakdown of our fights, and create a kind of a spike chart for the entire game. And what is it delivering to the player from beginning to end? And so as you can see, it's very effective for us. And we can literally run through the whole game essentially in shell form from beginning to end and say, here's a vista, here's a fight, here's an epic wow moment. Well, some of it's very TBD, but it gives us a good understanding. So in addition to that, our design philosophy at Santa Monica Studios, to expound on that, and this is worth sharing, I hope, is that
this was a sex reference to 6 minigaming Ghost of Sparta. Oh, okay, I see, okay.
We do not document.
Could be, yeah.
Yes, we will write things in like Microsoft Word to pitch and to share. We will brainstorm in that fashion. We will do things in Illustrator. We spend most of our time building. We don't find that tying ourselves to documentation is very helpful. And in fact, our documents always come last. We don't write game design documents. We define mechanics, etc., after they've been designed, after we've iterated on them. And our level design docs are the same. In fact, we don't even create those anymore. We just do video run-throughs. And we find that we don't marry ourselves to anything, because You know, looking at God of War from the outside before I started working at Santa Monica Studio, I thought these guys were like insane mad geniuses. I was like, well, because I came from a world where you design maps on paper and then you have to get it right and you have maybe one shot to do it. And that's not the case. You know, we have the luxury of being able to have the time to let things come together, and that's very important. You know, there's a commitment that, you know, in our studio that things need time to come together. You know, it's not, you can't make a sequence like Chronos or any of our elaborate puzzles or Pandora from God of War 1 in a week, 2 weeks, a month, even 3 months. You know, oftentimes our boss fights take 6 months to design. Our high action moments in our games can take years to build, you know, and it's just about giving it the time and what's, you know, valuing what's important and figuring out where to spend it. Additionally, you know, Tim Moss, essentially our tech director, and Krista Erickson, our tools director, are very good about giving us strong tools that allow us to iterate very quickly. You know, like I said before, we can basically build everything in Maya ourselves, and in fact, the entire studio works within Maya. And artists will use ZBrush, but everyone is actually interfacing and working within Maya directly, so it gives us kind of a unified platform to develop from within. And that allows us to iterate very quickly and to build things, and we don't have to go back and forth with art and have them essentially build our maps. We build the maps, and then they art on top of it. Also worth noting is that in our...
For the record, I'm not a tech guy either. I just happen to know a thing or two as part of PlayStation Nation. I don't know how any of that technical stuff works. Yeah, me neither, man. But apparently, Jonas is actually a software engineer. That's really cool, man. Now, when you say software engineer, I know games count as software, but there's also other things. Like, have you done anything I know about, Jonas? We might be speaking to a famous person here, just saying.
Designers are really encouraged to think for themselves. It's just, like I said before, it's not a one-person vision studio. You know, it's not one guy thinking of all the ideas and making them happen and telling people what to do. You know, obviously there's, you know, people make decisions, but we all think as a collective unit, and we find that that's very important for us in terms of getting a lot of ideas and distilling it down to the best ones possible. And then it's also about getting the right people on the bus. You know, the interview process at our studio is very painful. You know, we have a gnarly test that takes forever for people. We give them a week to do that, and if we get to past that stage, you probably have, you know, they're greeted with 8 to 10 hours of interviews in a day, and they go through pretty much every department. And it's very brutal and it's very agonizing, but we feel that if we can vet our designers and vet our staff within our studio, then we know that we have people that can handle it and that can do good work, that can be entrusted, like I said before, to think for themselves, and we don't have to manage them. You know, overmanage them, and they can create content, and they can really just build and do what they do best. And the next thing is really knowing your philosophy and sticking to it, whatever it is. Whether the vision of your game for God of War, for example, you know, it's an action-adventure game with combat, puzzles, and platforming, and that's our game. You know, we don't build things that deviate from that. We don't try to build like social networking components within the game. We don't build PlayStation home hubs. We don't do any of that. We stick to what we know, and we continue with that. And that works not only on a grand scale for our games, but also on a small scale for what our levels are. You know, so for designing the labyrinth levels, you know, we knew that these are mechanical contraption rooms that are essentially hazards, and we don't do anything unique in there. We don't have, there's no water in there.
Yes, Jonas says, I'm not working in the game industry, but I have developed games as a hobby. That's really cool, man. Like, is there any way to play your games? Are they, like, public? I don't know. I was called David Jaffe a couple times for some reason, so maybe Jonas is actually working at Santa Monica Studios. Right? I would be honored to work at Santa Monica. Dude, apply, man. Just go for it.
And so we stick to the vision. And
you have some experience in it, right?
We keep that going. And the last thing, you know, is that we really value the strength in numbers. And like
although
I said,
I'm saying
we have a lot of people.
I'm saying if you get a job at Santa Monica Studios, you gotta give me an interview or something, because I'm the one who just, you know, encourage you to do it. Okay, just you owe me that, just an interview or something. Okay, and a few cool details of how development is going on God of War 7.
A lot of people that are really, you know, passionate about what they do and that they can contribute. And you know, I've worked in a lot of levels at Santa Monica Studio, and I know that you know, they've always worked out better in the long run than what I originally could have conceived. And had I built my initial vision of what I thought a map could be in isolation, it never would have been as good as what it ended up being in the long run. Once you have other people looking at it, you get the feedback from other designers, et cetera, and the leads come in, and you know, you get a lot of insight from different places, and it's very important for us to be, you know, kind of communicative and reciprocative as far as sharing ideas. And
there's a trailer, Credits Forever.
I just wanted to quickly touch on the art philosophy using this example. So this is a shot from the announced trailer for God of War 3, and this was all a trailer that was developed in-house. We did everything in the engine. It was sort of a way for us to kind of test our new engine.
Yeah, I mean leaks, man.
We could pull off. So we had this moment in the game on the trailer, and it's sort of
Oh God, it's the same.
A goal for us to push the announced trailer for God of War 3.
Holy crap, it's the
And
same
this was
scene,
all
yeah.
a trailer that was developed in-house. We did everything in the engine. It was sort of a way for us to kind of test our new engine and see what we could pull off. So we had this moment in the game on the trailer, and it sort of kind of set a goal for us to push towards for the final game. And although that moment didn't really occur at the beginning of the game on Gaia, we were able to get that moment into Chronos. So it's sort of that goals that we set for ourselves, that we want to make sure that we delivered on the promise that we had established with that trailer. Also, pushing ourselves forward, we just want to make sure that the character of Chronos was the most detailed that we could do. So Tyler Breon did a great job on detailing everything from the veins down to the fingerprints. So definitely our most complex character we have ever done. The next slide shows sort of like a progression.
He has a penis. That's confirmed now.
The cinematic model.
You can't unsee that.
And as you can see, the character didn't change.
I mean, that would still be the size of a building, I would say. Like a small building. I promise I'm done talking about Chronos' junk.
Too much, but there was definitely a progression that you can see here. A lot of iteration, a lot of fine-tuning, a lot of detail, that got added over time, as well as you can see some height changes.
And it's also worth noting that this is anatomically correct, and Tyler definitely got into some hot water over this. This is a point of contention on the project. He was told not to do this. He did it anyway, and it didn't end up making it into the game because it would have been weird because, as you fall off the creature, there would have been a lot of crotch shots, and it just would have been kind of bizarre. And it is a bit ironic for a guy so big. He is not so big.
Someone, I think at one point they were talking about like sex minigame and all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
we're just like, no way.
We just couldn't figure out how to make it work. We didn't know. If you guys have any ideas, we can talk later.
I mean, it still doesn't explain how he had sex with I forgot the girl's name, the goddess. What's Suze's mother's name? I forgot her name. Not Hera. Hera is Suze's wife. Rhea.
So, at this point in development,
yeah, it still doesn't explain how he did it with Rhea, though. It's still too big for her.
Team, Mengvu, our animator, etc., and basically building this for us with Tyler, and working from the very beginning to establish the shell. And what we were able to do was put this together, as you can see in this video, from kind of beginning to end. So this was 6 months into development on the creature. We were at this point, and 3 months after the
I can honestly I can imagine that interview, like how it went. Like, don't add the penis, Tyler. Don't add a Chronos penis. Don't do it. He's like, okay, I won't do it. He comes back a week later. So here it is. Stig Asmussen's like, why? Go work at EA or something.
the technology has been developed. And at this stage, you could play through it. It had a lot of the major beats. It wasn't exactly fun yet, but you could see the spectacle there. There was no
evil Chronos right there,
and it was all really kind of mocked in and to be determined. There was really no art added, and it was very basic. There was still a ton of work to be done, but at least we had kind of a nice starting point. And as you can see here, that's our hotbox sequence, and we kind of have these like weird college humor names that we attach to all of our sequences in order to kind of create like a nomenclature so we can easily reference them within our team, and we feel that's helpful, rather than being like, yeah, it's the thing where he's like holding the hand. People say, yeah, it's the hot box. Everyone knows the hot box. So, and you go through that, and we basically do that for everything that we have in our game. It's kind of big and requires a lot of conversation.
Yeah, what happened to
strangled right there.
What happened to his comments? Hold on, give me a second. What did he say though? Why is my YouTube app not responding now? All right. Gonna have to go here. I don't know why they got deleted though. I mean, like, does YouTube recognize that they're sexual? I really don't know. Oh, because you spam. That's why I'm like, why did it got deleted though? All right.
And so where are we now? So now we have to do it for real. So Nathan Gary moved on to a different position within Sony, and that was exciting for him. And that left a vacuum in order to see who was actually going to finish this thing off. Because as you can see, it was kind of there in a shell. The idea was intact.
Can you imagine if that was the reason why they made it tiny, Kratos Forever? It's like, we couldn't have made his penis bigger, because it would have just crashed the game. I'm sorry. We had to give him a small one. Kratos' junk is probably the size of Tyr's temple. It probably is.
It kind of made sense. We actually had to do it now. And how are we going to do it? So I was actually brought in for better or worse. I was super excited in the beginning. And I quickly turned to dread once I talked to everyone who worked on it to figure out how gnarly this was. And we just got to it, man. There was really no option, so we just jumped in. And I started working on it with the team. And I was initially tasked with a few things. And one of them was to figure out, play through it and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I felt initially the things, a lot of it was working. And in fact, I think it was quite cool already. But I felt like we were missing some things. We were missing the dynamism. We were missing a lot of kind of those big moments I talked about where the character transition states, etc. And we really needed to shore it up. We really also needed to really create a kind of a fight sequence between the character and Kratos, and really, selling that experience. And we feel like we didn't really have that at that point. So we had to figure out what we were going to cut, what we were going to keep, and what we were going to improve upon.
So I just want to share with you a couple of the cut stuff. So this is a part where Kratos is actually going across to each one of Kronos' eyes and just ripping it out and then having at him. We kind of figured out that
cool
by
and
the
disgusting.
time that you reach his face, he was pretty much incapacitated. Kratos is a brutal character, but he's not necessarily sadistic. So we felt that, hey, he should just go for the forehead and just finish him off. But and on top of that, we just had too many eye-ripping scenes already in the game. So the next thing is
you look like a Spider-Man symbol.
We had for Kronos early on. Yes, Kratos is the size of an ant compared to Kronos, but this attack was just way too literal, and it just didn't work out for the character at all. But I just thought, wanted to share this with you guys.
That looks too funny.
And so the first thing we decided to tackle was let's just nail this from the beginning to end. Let's just fill it in from start to finish. And we decided to start with the right arm, and this is kind of the right arm at maybe, I want to say, like the pre-alpha stage. And we were kind of figuring out what we wanted to do here and what worked. And we spent about 3 months just working on this one section, and it was the most challenging for us because this is where we really wanted to sell the actual, even though this is not like a real boss battle, but our version of a direct fight between the two of you. So we have Kronos screaming at you, we have you running over to him and like attacking him, and we really struggled with this for a while. We were struggling with the transition state from this point to the belly. And one day we were sitting there and kind of out of frustration, and he said, well, why don't we strip his fingernail off? Thinking people were going to be like, oh, that's a bad idea or whatever. And everyone was like, actually, that's kind of cool, let's try that. And so Jason Hall mocked it up that day, the animator, and we tried it, and it instantly sold itself. People were like, that's terrible, actually. It's weird. Why would you do that,
That's
man?
terrible, but yeah. I can't believe it. What? Not sadistic. Helios said would like to speak to you. No, but I mean, I guess he realized that he needed Helios's head. I don't know, because he's a god of light. he might have seen like possible use in his head. I don't know.
You're ripping people's heads off and doing all this
Oh,
stuff.
I can't believe it. I got it now. I got it.
But everyone can kind of relate to like having your fingernail ripped off, and it just is really evocative. You don't really see that here, but if you play the game, it's pretty gross with the sound and the audio and everything. It's pretty nasty. And so where did that leave us? That left us at the point where we needed to solidify the progression of the whole experience. And I liken kind of Kronos to like a classic car. If anybody who has had a classic car knows about him, everything will kind of work when you get it, and then like a week later the windows won't roll up, and then the sunroof won't close, and then like you need like a new oil pan, and like what happens is that you can never get everything above water. Something is always submerged, something is always malfunctioning, and that was the case with this. It took us about, I would say, 9 months just to get it to a place where we could play through the whole thing from beginning to end with progression, and that was really our goal, was can we get through it? And it took forever. It kept crashing, or you'd fall off, and that was gnarly and very disconcerting. And then that took us into the next stage, which was the play testing and kind of iterative process stage of the whole experience. And I liken this very much to being attacked by a shark while you're riding a helicopter under the Golden Gate Bridge. And for all of you who've done it, it's awesome. Or if you haven't done it, whatever. Check it out. But as you can see here, it's wrought with peril, and it tests a lot of your assumptions, and it can be very taxing and time-consuming and frustrating ultimately. So we went through that process, and we figured out, the people were responding well to this. They were falling and dying a lot, but they were responding to the grand spectacle of the whole thing, which we were very happy about. And that opened it up for us to figure out, well, as game developers, we're aware, oftentimes it's you know, it's not what you add to an
What is that?
experience.
What's
you
up with that
take away
picture?
from it in order to
All of a sudden.
create, the better experience and what to subtract. And that was certainly the case with this sequence. But in some respects, we had to find things to add too, because we felt like we were still missing things at those later stages, like the sequence where you saw earlier where he grabs you off the belly and holds the hand out, and those dynamic state changes. We really wanted to sell
What
those.
the
We
F?
had to
Yeah, I
put
know,
them
right?
in, and there were a lot of eye rolls
It's so random.
about that when I suggested to do that, because we were already pretty much screwed and seemingly unable to pull this off in the time we had, but we felt if we were going to do it at all, we had to go big.
So now that we trimmed the fat and we had everything
Oh.
working, we had a
Trim the fat. Okay.
progression. That was time to really turn up the volume and polish this thing out and get it out the door. So that's when all 35 members, all hands on deck, everybody jumped on board to start polishing this thing, getting it together. So team members like Max Ankar, who's the lead visual effects artist, did a great job on Chronos. Kerry Gavina, the technical artist that worked, he can tell you some crazy stories about working on Chronos. But they pulled together, everybody came together. So this is a shot of pre-alpha Chronos, and here's a nice transition to what it actually ended.
That looks good.
So
Yeah.
this is the moment that was most exciting for us. We're starting to get the visual effects, the sound, everything's the new updated animations, the final character models in place, and the frame rates becoming more stable. It was really, really, truly an exciting moment for us at this stage.
And so at this point, it's pretty much alive, and I think that for us and for me, this was a big experience to have it all come together. This is the hardest.
Was that
thing
the
I've
goat from the God of War 2 launch
So
party?
it was a situation where every day it seemed impossible. Every day people didn't feel we would be able to do it in time, or people couldn't see the vision, and it was very challenging. It was like looking into a dark abyss. And as game developers, we all know that working in a creative medium with time constraints, you can't see the end result necessarily, but you operate on that daily faith that if you guys work hard as a team and you try to work as smart as possible, you'll be able to pull it off. And that was, it was very rewarding for us. And to work on something like this was really why I got into games. It was to work on cool things that I was excited about and passionate about with really talented people. And to me, it was very satisfying, professionally, emotionally, personally, in order to work on this and pull it off and to see it all the way in the end. And I remember, having set this up for a year and a half, I went through this and I played it after we got all the VO in and everything. And I remember playing through the whole thing and just really being blown away in the end when, stabbing him in the forehead and he's like pleading with you not to kill him. And I actually felt bad, which was weird because if anyone's like the Wizard of Oz on this, it's me because I set the whole thing up over the last year and a half. But I actually felt that we had achieved what we set out to achieve, which was delivering on the believability and the spectacle and selling the experience.
The sacrifice goat actually got a cameo in Ascension. That would be fun if that was the intention behind the goat in Ascension. Even in the original non-remastered game, looks hella good. Even for today, it really does, man. It really does.
It was kind of like a unique experience to be able to work on this because
God of War 3 is
I
just
kind of had,
polished. It's
sort
just
of
amazing.
I was able to step back. I wasn't actually doing the day-to-day animation on the character, but I was able to sort of supervise and see it born all the way from that, God of War 2 Cyclops previous animation to the Gray Box Man to each iteration, and I could really see this character growing and slowly coming to life. So I just, I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity to kind of have that perspective on this sequence.
And we're wrapping up now, but we'll just jump into an outro clip, and this is kind of how it ends.
Ba-da-ba-bum-bum. My God, the God of War music. Yeah, they are using God of War 2 music. Okay, is that... Which song is that? Walking the Sleeping Giant, I think? I think it is. I think that's the song. Yeah. It makes sense because you're just walking on Chronos the Giant. This is one of my favorite themes. It's up there. Bum, 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 bum. Anyway, so I was actually gonna ask you guys to. We're not gonna look for God of War toys or anything like that today, but I was gonna ask your opinion on something. Because as many of you guys know, David Jaffe's gonna be coming over Sunday to do an interview with me. So I have to ask him really good questions, and I have a few. Let me see if I can. I took you guys. I don't want you guys to see because I might have to log out. Yeah, of Kanaruhi's place. Kanaruhi's Google Docs. How do I sign in now? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yes, continue. Give me a sec. So I have a few questions. This is not it. How do I sign in to my thing? Okay, I think I got it now. Yeah, okay, I got it. Channel exclusives, that's not it. David Jaffe questions, I got it now, okay. Oh yeah, sorry, it's a Monday, my bad. Kanaruhi's gonna kill me. It's on Monday, my bad. Monday 31st. I'm so sorry, guys. Because it would have been... Yeah, it's actually a Monday. So anyways, I got him. I got a few questions for him. I don't know if you guys... Let me know if you guys can see them, if you guys can read them properly. I can make this bigger. There we go. That should be good enough. Because I'm not in the way. So yeah, I actually want to start things off like by just asking like, you know, his job as a game developer, like in the early 90s, I guess, like how difficult was it to create Twisted Metal? That's not what you guys are there for. I get that. The second one is like what made you want to create an action adventure game like God of War, and what was the most difficult aspect or section of the game to work on? Were there any big story moments or gameplay sections that never made it into the game due to time constraints or lack of resources? I know the answer to that. That's a resounding yes, but I kind of want him. I'm gonna pry a little bit more. Ask him how he could he expand on those sections a little bit more. I don't think you got an interview with me, Kuba, right? Right? So I wanted to ask him this. Is there a story reason for Artemis not being in the games? Because I know he worked in God of War in God of War 2 and maybe a little bit of God of War 3. I don't think he was with Sony then. Or he was just doing his own thing. But I mean, to me, I find the whole Artemis thing kind of a mystery. Like, maybe he has a lore reason to it. These are the most interesting questions because they're related more to the lore. The other one is, was the Birth of the Beast cutscene a setup for where you saw the story going next? So that's the cutscene you find at the end of the game, and not at the end of the game, like in the treasures of the game, where you actually see Deimos. And I was thinking, like, is that where you actually saw the story going next? Like Kratos fighting against his own brother, because he looked like a demon or something. I can ask him this, but since this is a God of War interview, my question is to him: Who exactly made the Blades of Chaos? You know what? That's a good one. That is a good lore question. I mean, I don't think he'll know. I mean, he'll just say Ares. Because according to God of War 1, it doesn't really specify. It just says Ares, but maybe he might have had some more lore behind that. He just didn't get really into it. Do we know if Calliope is gone for good? See, I don't think he would know that, because that's already a Dawn's game, though. So is there a story for Artemis not being in the games? What's Birth of the Beast? Would this story be related to the secret ending regarding Ares' soul trapped somewhere in Olympus? So that's something I really need to ask him. That's the other phone call thing that was kind of a hint. I did a video on it, and apparently Ares' soul is somewhere in Olympus, trapped. We don't know by who. I really need to ask him that. That is the most important question I have to ask him. I want to know what he was planning with that thing, because it's got more of a serious tone. It's not like the one where David Jaffe, where Kratos kills David Jaffe. This one is serious. This one seems story related. And then, can you expand on how you would have ended the story of Kratos? So this is, I'm sure this is one you guys really want to know. Like, we played the game Bit of War the other day, and that was his story pretty much. Kaptain Kuba. So yeah, that was when we played this. When I played it, that was his story. A fan made a game, a story into the game, and it was really cool. I need to ask him more about that. Would you mind if Atreus was gay? I'm gonna leave that for the ending because I know his answer is no, but I kind of want him to talk about the whole gay issue and stuff, like whether he minds if, and then that'll, I don't know, kind of just bleed into what if Kratos was gay. Again, we're gonna get into a discussion of that. And then, do you think God of War would work in a modern day setting? Yeah. So Is there anything else you guys want me to ask him? Jaffe isn't a lore guy. He's a game designer maker, guys. Exactly. Like I kind of have to, I don't know, keep it to God of War 1. I can't really ask him things about the future of the series. He's not gonna be giving me his theories and anything like that. Please ask him if the design of Kratos is based off Stig Asmussen. No, that seems like I'm making fun of Stig Asmussen. I'm not gonna ask him that though. I couldn't see it. You retracted the message. Kratos' blades would have rainbow instead of fire if he was gay. You don't know that. I mean, not a question from the interview, but I wonder what he's doing now. I think he's just doing the YouTube thing. I don't think he's working on any games, because the last company he worked on closed. I forgot it was the company that made, what's that game called? Drawn to Death, right? Yeah. Drawn to Death company, Sony Entertainment. Who made this game? Developers Bartlett Jones Supernatural. Doesn't sound right though. It's kind of a shame, because this game, the Drawn to Death game, looked really interesting. The concept, I guess the execution wasn't the best, but his idea was pretty cool, because it all took place in a teenager's notebook, and the art design was really cool. I liked it. I don't know. He kind of went back to doing more of the Twisted Metal type of thing, and I wish it would have been better, honestly, because I do like the art style. It's kind of like The Order 1886. I'm like, yeah, I guess the story was kind of bad and the gameplay was kind of lackluster, but the art design was really good. And the same thing with this game. This seems like a really cool game. Where was I? There we go. He already did say that he doesn't mind Atreus being gay, but why the question Atreus' wife is on the mural? He wouldn't know that, man. He wouldn't know that. I mean, I can ask him like what he thinks is going to happen from a writer's perspective, I guess. Yeah, that was actually the developer's name. The Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency. That's a long-ass name. I would ask him that. Like, I'm gonna fix the order of the questions later on. As a writer, I mean, he's not really a writer, but he has written stuff before as a writer. Satan Munich. I always write that. Satan Monica. There we go. How do you spell writer? Oh, 1T, right? Yeah. Question mark. There we go. How about his expectations and ideas about the next game? He might have a special take being an ex-God of War director. Okay, so that's kind of similar to the one I just wrote, Mohammed. But yeah, I'm really excited to... Honestly, dude, he's an awesome guy, and I really want to talk to him about God of War and stuff. Ask him about the Nostalgia D writer... Wait. The Nostalgia D writer who hasn't moved on from the OG series and talk crap about God of War? Who's that? Nostalgia D writers. Oh, I guess you mean like OG God of War fans, I guess. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask him something else. I'm gonna ask him like, what's the identity of God of War? Like, what do you think God of War is? I guess. What's most difficult? Okay. What makes a God of War game? That sounds kind of weird. Crew. Devil May Cry. Something like that. Yeah, the Morans were stuck in a nostalgia junk. I got you now, okay. Ask him if there was any known origin for the village oracle. Was she African? Yes! Thank you. The village oracle, okay. Because I'm pretty sure... Oh, wait, that's answered in the God of War 1 novel. Numian, I think it says the God of War novel, it says that it's Numian. Numian? Nubian, yeah. Is it Nubia? Okay. Is it a region along the Nile River? I'm pretty sure That's what I mean. Like, the world of God of War was different back then. That's something I hate about retcons. I'm pretty sure it says, the novel says that it's in Nubia, but I'm gonna ask him, from the guy himself, from, you know, the director himself, see what he says about that. I might not go with all of these because I only have him for an hour, I think. Oracle. I'm gonna go with that village. And how Kratos' family got there, because that's another mystery. I guess Ares just teleported them magically, and it seems, and Ascension seems to hint that the Oracle was none other than Tisiphone. But I want to ask him, see if he has any ideas. Best and more things about God of War 2018, maybe? I might ask him that, but I think he did a review on it. Hey, Stencott, what's up, man? Yeah, he didn't like about God of War 4 is the map and the upgrade system. I didn't really mind the map too much. I get it, it's kind of hard to see. It's not very clear sometimes. But, I mean, you guys are going to know what my main issue with the game is tomorrow. I hope to upload the video tomorrow. I'm going to have the top 5 things I want Santa Monica to fix in the next game. But, yeah. Or you can ask him how the idea of God of War first developed. I think I have that already. Yeah, what made you want to create an action-adventure game like the God of War? Like God of War, yeah. I have that already. God of War was originally supposed to be like Zelda. What made them go for a more linear structure? I mean, that's also going to be, I guess, included in this question. At the moment, I need to go to sleep. You know, important stuff, and it's 1 a.m. out here. Take it easy, man. Thank you for stopping by. But, yeah. I mean, I can think of more questions, but again, like Iman says, like, he's not really a lore guy. Like, you can tell that he was mostly invested in the story of God of War 1, and that was pretty much it. He's not like Cory Barlog, where he just gonna put stuff in as secrets and stuff like that. He didn't do that in God of War 1. I'm gonna sneeze. Wait, Cap, Jaffe knows some things about the sequel, but he isn't going to spill the beans. Does he really know some things about the sequel? Yeah, I don't think Tisiphone and the Village Oracle are the same person. She's just imitating her, though. Like, but why show us that at the last moment, though? Like, it seems kind of like a hint. But always stepping in to say hey, or just to pay respect to you for creating content. Awesome, man. Thank you so much, man. God of War bless you. I got that. That's funny. That's good. Does he actually know stuff about the next God of War game? That'd be interesting. He's not gonna say, though. He'll get in a lot of trouble. I should ask him just more of a personal question, like, is there a game series you would want to work on, I guess? A future game series you would want to work? Or would you even want to work in game development at all? I'll ask him that. Yeah, he has said that he knows what's happening. Oh, does he really? Okay. That's really cool. He has been asked about it on stream, but he said he can't say anything. Of course he can't. Okay, so I guess I probably won't ask him. Which one is it? I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere in here. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the questions I have planned for him. I'm gonna think of some more. Do you see Kratos talking on Jesus or Buddha? I know he did. Like I know he's gonna talk about that, and yeah, in this story here, because I know he had like a Jesus painting in Athens as well. So yeah, he saw that realm, I guess, being part of the universe. Also, don't ask. Don't ask what. People are hoping David Jaffe's gonna be like, okay, so here's the entire story for Ragnarok. Dude, if we get him high or something, we might get that. We might get that. Tell Kratos that both Lysandra and Calliope weren't just there by chance. Something that we, the audience, already knew, but not something Kratos was necessarily aware of. I guess, yeah, but I'm gonna ask him, see if he has an idea on how Lysandra and Calliope actually got to the village. Because, I mean, who knows, like, maybe it's not canon anymore, but maybe he had an idea that just didn't have enough time to fit it into the game. I don't know. You never know. But yep. Joe Rogan him, Cuba. I'm gonna Joe Rogan him. So Cap, was Kratos' family actually there when Ares transported them? Wait, so was Kratos' family actually there when Ares transported? Yeah, no, yeah, those were that was a real family, yeah. The thing is, we don't know how he got them there. Maybe it's just left vague, like he just magically, transported them. It's not really meant to be explained. Mom. God of War Roblox game playthrough when? Is there an actual God of War Roblox game? God Puff War. The one I have to check is Dreams to see if they have another God of War game. God of War Roblox. Is it a game? I don't know. I really don't know what Roblox is still. Roblox God of War Chapter 1. April 2009? How long has this game been out? Like the Roblox game. Ask him Aphrodite or Freya. That's good. That's cool right there. How is this God of War? War of Gods, Roblox. What is this? Who knows? Oh my god. There it is. It might be a thing. Roblox is bootleg Minecraft. I've never played either one. Nice. I know you can create your own games and stuff, and that's exactly why we don't really play it. God of War on Dreams, let's go. Let's go to that. Oh, that's Modi Son of Thor. That's a pretty good game in Dreams, by the way. I don't think they have anything new. I'm gonna have to check. Cap, go to eBay and search God of War 2005 and open. Again, we did this last time. You guys are gonna really make me look at God of War toys and stuff again. God of War. I think that's it, right? How much is that thing? Holy crap. It's the press kit box. $1,333. Who's gonna pay that? Alright. What is it? God of War 2005. Unopened. Which one is it? I'm expecting it to be a lot more expensive. No, search what I wrote. God of War 2005 unopened. That's what I looked for. It's not there. Maybe it is, I don't know. This is, I think we saw it last time, like this is one I would love to have, like demo disc. That's so cool. It's not that expensive. I can buy that, but I don't. I might just get it. I might honestly just get it just to have it. Just to be like, just to be the guy, hey, I have the demo of God of War 1. It's over 9,000. I want to get this so bad. Is it real though? I think I'm gonna get it. I'm not gonna do it now because I have to put in my credit card information. I want to get this so bad. Because this is a piece of God of War history right there. Demo disc, not for resale. Yet this guy's reselling it. I mean, if I could have David Jaffe sign this thing, then it would be worth a lot of money, just saying. David Jaffe signing this game, this demo disc, makes it extra rare. Kuba credits. Let's see that credit card info real quick. Alright, just flash it. I actually had to get a new credit card because I got my information stolen. Or at least I think I did, because I had a... What I find out is that... How I found out that it was stolen is because I had a Spotify premium charge to my card. And like, I don't have Spotify. I'm a YouTube guy. Spotify can go and kick rocks. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of paying to watch stuff. And again, it's free. I know it's free, but I don't like it. I'm used to YouTube, and I'm gonna stick with them. So it was odd. I might have done it by accident. When I was following Joe Rogan on Spotify. Right now, it's just not worth it. I like Joe Rogan, but I'm not gonna go to another platform just to listen to him. I'll keep your money for you. All right, that's a plan. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get the demo. I'm gonna get the demo so bad. And I'm gonna own it. It's gonna be good. Life is gonna finally be good. David Jaffe personally come to you, or just... No, it's just a video chat. I was just kidding. But I mean, it would be cool if I mail this to him. Yo, dude, can you sign this for me? And then boom. And then I own a signed David Jaffe copy of the God of War 1 demo. I want it. I'm getting it. I've made my mind up. I'm getting it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it now. Cap, get the demo and ask Jaffe to sign it for you. He will do it. Oh, I'm sure he will. But the thing is, I don't really have a way to actually send it to him. I guess through mail. But I don't know when I'm gonna get it back though. But anyways, I'm gonna end it, guys. It has been fun. What time is it? Oh. Okay. Kanari's just telling me that she's gonna be late tonight because she got overtime. P.O. Box. Oh, he's got a P.O. Box? Oh, okay, cool. I'd really gotta watch more of his stuff. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end it here, because it's getting kind of late, and I'm getting kind of hungry. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys actually Monday. Remember, Monday is the day that David Jaffe's gonna stop by. He's gonna be in the charity live stream for Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. So be there. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's gonna be over 5 hours long. Like, we have a schedule. Kanari and I are gonna be cooking. We're gonna be playing It Takes Two, and David Jaffe's gonna be the last segment of it. Hopefully he comes by because he hasn't really replied back in Twitter. He's kind of unreliable in that in that area, but I'm sure he will come back. He will show up. But yeah, I'll see you guys Monday, 31st, May 31st, at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, remember, go forth in the name of Ragnarok.